Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that could be making you way more money with basically zero effort. I'm talking about high-yield savings accounts. Let's dive into how you can finally make your savings start working for you instead of the other way around. Okay, let's just jump right in with a question that might sound a little crazy. Is your savings account actually costing you money? I mean, it's supposed to be the safest place for your cash, right? But believe it or not, for most of us, the answer is yeah, it is. And that brings us to your money's hidden enemy. It's called inflation. It's this quiet, invisible force that's always working in the background, just eating away at the value of the cash you have tucked away. So take a look at this. It tells the whole story, really. That tiny little bar on the left, that's the interest your typical savings account is earning. And that giant bar next to it, that's inflation. When the inflation bar is bigger than your earnings bar, your money is literally losing its power. Every single day, that dollar you saved can buy a little bit less. But hey, that's the problem, right? It's not the end of the story. The good news is there's a much smarter way to save. So let's talk about the solution. So what's the secret? It really comes down to this. The difference between your old school brick and mortar bank, the one with the fancy lobby, and the newer, online-only banks. See, traditional banks have to pay for all those buildings, all those people. It's a ton of overhead. Online banks? They don't have any of that. They're lean, which means they can pass all those savings directly onto you. And the result is, well, it's pretty simple. They can offer you way, way higher interest rates. It's their main way of competing for your business, and it means more money ends up right back in your pocket. Okay, so how do you actually measure this extra earning power? Well, it all boils down to three little letters that you've got to know: APY. APY, that stands for annual percentage yield. Now, this is the real number you want to look at. Why? Because it includes the magic of compounding interest. And that's just a fancy way of saying your money starts making money on top of the money it's already made. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, just getting bigger and bigger. Let's put some real numbers to this, okay? Say you have $10,000. In a regular savings account, after a whole year, you might have earned what? A few bucks? Maybe enough to buy a fancy coffee. But that same 10 grand in a high yield account, we're talking hundreds of dollars, maybe 450 bucks or even more. That's not just a little extra cash, that's a huge difference. It's a total game changer. Here's a great way to think about it. APY is basically the speedometer for your money's growth. A tiny APY from a traditional bank, you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, going nowhere fast. A high APY, man, you are flying down the open highway in the fast lane. You're actually making progress. All right, so we get it. These accounts earn more. That's awesome. But what are they actually for? What's the perfect job for a high-yield savings account? Well, let's talk about your emergency fund. A good emergency fund really needs to do two things, right? One, you have to be able to get to that money fast when you need it. It's got to be accessible. And two, it can't just be sitting there losing its value to inflation day after day. It needs to be working for you, even when you're not using it. And this is where a high-yield savings account just fits perfectly. First off, that high APY we talked about, it helps your money keep up with or even beat inflation. Second, the money is still totally available to you. It's liquid, as they say. It's not locked up in some investment for years. And third, and this is a big one, having it in a separate account, away from your daily checking, creates this little mental barrier. It really helps you not to dip into it for a pizza on Friday night. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I know what you're thinking. An online bank I've never heard of? That sounds kind of sketchy. Is my money actually safe? Look, that's probably the most important question of all, so let's hit it straight on. Yeah, this is the big fear, right? We're talking about our hard-earned savings here. What on earth happens if one of these online banks just disappears? It's a totally fair question to ask. And the answer? The reason you can sleep at night comes down to another three-letter acronym: FDIC. It stands for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This is an agency of the U.S. government, and its entire job, its only job, is to make sure your money is safe in the bank. So how much protection are we talking about here? $250,000. That is a huge number. The government guarantees your money up to $250,000 for each person at each insured bank. That's an incredible safety net. So here's the bottom line. As long as you make sure your online bank is FDIC insured, and pretty much every legitimate one is, Your money is just as safe, period, as it is in that giant stone bank downtown. There's no difference in safety. End of story. So let's wrap this up. We've seen how money just sitting there is actually losing power. But a high-yield savings account can put it to work, put it in that fast lane, and do it all secretly. So the real question now isn't about the accounts, it's about you. Your savings could be doing so much more for you. So what's your next step?